You know what? I'm not that mad that we lost. Like, obviously, I wanted us to win, but it's not a serious trophy, and minutes in the tank and a good performance are much more important than the result. And it was a good performance. There were a lot of positive takeaways and some negative too, so let's talk about them. We did a great job defensively and nullified City really well. We were, like we have been throughout most of pre-season, very compact, sitting in a 4-4-2 mid-block, not pressing too aggressively and instead opting to maintain shape. We did have a pressing trigger though, and it was when the ball went back to Ederson. Usually the leader of the press, which was mostly Bruno, would close down the Brazilian and would usually force him to go long. And this was beneficial for us because when he went long, we would either dominate the ball or win second balls because of the amount of players we had in those areas due to us being compact. This type of structure in these types of games is great. I really like it. It plays to the strengths of our current squad, but also sets us up well to defend against tough opposition. Yesterday, we were good when we didn't have the ball, but we were great when we had the ball, especially on the attack. We were able to move the ball from defence to attack not only very quickly, which exploited City's weaknesses in transition, but our combination passing, our pass selection, and the execution of our passing was excellent. And we were actually able to move the ball in and around the area very effectively and actually carve City open at times. We created a lot of very good chances and were dangerous on the attack. We got a lot of bodies inside the final third and utilised them really well. Our off the ball movement and vision was excellent too. Very promising signs. Another thing I really enjoyed seeing yesterday was that Kobbie Mainoo was almost always the deepest midfielder when we had the ball and took pretty much all the reins off Casemiro in possession, which meant that Casemiro didn't have as much responsibility on the ball, which we all know is better for the team, but it also meant he could drift further forward where he's actually quite effective. When we didn't have the ball defensively, Casemiro was the deepest midfielder and screened the back four really well. The dynamic between Mainoo and Casemiro on and off the ball works perfectly, and I hope we see it more often. There were some very good performances from individuals yesterday, and players need mentioning. The first is Casemiro. What a weird month he's had. Like, he was great against Real Betis in pre-season, but then 3 days later, he was absolutely horrendous against Liverpool. But yesterday, he was excellent. He was so sharp on and off the ball. His anticipation was great. He was very strong in his duels, and he did so much for the team defensively. Great performance. Amad Diallo was very good too, and I think I'm going to spend a lot of the season saying that. He is class. So good at playing off players, brilliant in tight spaces and 1v1. After spending pretty much all last season pleading for a new right winger, I think we found our answer. And it feels amazing to know that we have him and Alejandro Garnacho in our ranks. And Garnacho looks like a player somewhat reborn physically. I don't know if it's me, but he looks taller and a bit bigger too. He still has his confidence though and put it to use yesterday. That goal is perfect winger play. Drive, cut, shoot. And Garnacho against tired legs, by the way, is an absolute cheat code. And I think that's exactly how I want him utilised for most of this season. So far, this video has been all happy, smiles, positivity. But there were some negatives from this game as well. I never want to see Lisandro Martinez play at left back ever again. Not only does it take away from his involvement in possession, which is very detrimental to the team, but it also exposes his biggest deficiencies. He doesn't have the athleticism to defend 1v1 on the touchline up against a winger, and he doesn't even have long legs like most centre-backs would to help him out either. It will not ever work, and I never want to see it again. But thankfully, I'm pretty sure it was just a temporary measure for this game only, and I don't think we'll ever see it again, thankfully. Funnily enough, when he went centre-back in the second half, there was a real difference in our build-up and in the speed in which we got the ball from defence to midfield and attack. Martinez is one of our most important players and has to be the most involved in build-up for our build-up to be good. So you have to play him in his best position. For those of you that are gonna say, why didn't we play Harry Amas? I am so glad that we didn't. Now, I think Harry Amas is very good and will turn into a brilliant left back, but he would have struggled massively up against Oscar Bob, who is fantastic, by the way. And for him to get cooked against City at Wembley in front of millions is not good. Onana's distribution for the most part was very subject against City, which is abnormal because it's usually brilliant. But yesterday, maybe there was a lack of trust in his defenders. Linked to that, our build-up once again was very inconsistent. Is that a personnel issue as well? I mean, it could be because Maguire and Evans aren't movers. What I mean by that is, you know how at Spurs, Romero and Van de Ven will move about constantly, offering Vicario, who isn't amazing with the ball at his feet, by the way, with options in build-up. Well, Maguire and Evans aren't very mobile and don't do that very often. So Onana, a lot of the time, is forced to go long because he can't just stand there still with the ball. And he can't play a pass to a defender or midfielder who's just standing still being marked because that's a risky pass. So maybe going long is the safer option. Neither Evans or Maguire are very press resistant either. They're strong and secure on the ball and can pick out a good pass, no doubt. I'm not for a second questioning their abilities in possession, but when pressed, they're both very easy to get at, which limits how well you can beat a high press. A counter to this would be placing more bodies in build-up, but this has a counter reaction in the second and third phases. The final negative is the fact that we should have put the game to bed. We should have won that game 100%. I know football doesn't work like this, but we should have got 4. We put together so many good moves and created so many dangerous chances. We just couldn't finish them, which is actually more of a positive than a negative. It's a positive because we were able to create 4 very good chances against the best team in the country. Not being able to finish them is frustrating, yes, but that's not a consistent thing and should come with time. We hope. There were a lot more positives than negatives from this game, which is brilliant. And it's made me just a little bit more excited for this season, but maybe I'm being a massive idiot for thinking that.